You are at Lake Rant, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for Bianco Magic Wizard, who says, "Hello, please rant about your experience and opinion on Last Exile, the 26-ep anime from 2003. Interested in aesthetic evaluation first and foremost. Thank you and be well." So Last Exile was a 2003 show by Gonzo, most known for extensively fusing 3D CG with 2D animation, which is something Gonzo was doing a lot of. They were early pioneers of CG. They really would just wrench it into their shows like crazy, and for the most part, it worked out pretty well. I mean, the 3D in Gonzo shows was never like super advanced or state of the art or gonna blow your mind just on its face, but they came up with pretty decent ship design stuff that would fit the aesthetic of their world well. And Last Exile for many years was considered the like gold standard for combining 3D and 2D art, specifically because they would use similar like digital lighting effects on both the 3D and 2D scenes so that they looked more cohesive. There's everything is very highly affected in the first place. There's you know every scene has such a unique vibe, and so much of it takes place in the sky, and so much of the 3D is depicting these very simplistic flying machines that are designed to look sort of steampunk. And those designs just lent themselves well to the 3D. It was stuff that was easier to draw in that style. Rangy Murata's character designs paired well with the 3D aesthetics and the whole world building look. So like at the time, it was fairly visually breathtaking. Now, I have not rewatched Last Exile. I've rewatched the opening, the OP, and just seen like AMVs and stuff here and there over the years, and it definitely hasn't aged beautifully. I mean, I would not look at the show today and tell you that it is a absolutely gorgeous show, just because it runs into the problem that all these old 3D shows do, that they age poorly. The better we've seen 3D get, the more obvious it's going to be what era these things came from. And even if it does a better job than most at integration, it's still noticeable. You will never look at it and not think that this 3D came from 2003, because even making the slightest attempt to be realistic is going to make it obvious how much better we are at doing that today. So I think it's aged more gracefully than you would expect because they did so much to make it look good in the first place. But it's not going to hold up to 2019 standards of CG quality necessarily. But the show is mostly about its atmosphere and its world, and I think that those things are the most memorable parts of the show. I can not remember any of the plot at all. I watched this whole show. It was one of those story-driven original shows from back then. 26-episode original anime was quite common. Usually the storylines were fairly similar and simplistic, and I think that's why ultimately this genre sort of died out, is just fatigue to all these similar original stories. But Last Exile was one that at least had such a unique atmosphere that even if the characters and the story weren't that memorable, the world itself was. And the opening theme in particular, I mean, the show had a great soundtrack, but Cloud Age Symphony, one of my favorite OPs. You can see it on my top 100 OPs list. So, yeah, never get tired of fucking bumping that jam. But otherwise, I like Rangy Murata's art. I've got, some of it collected. I've got some Last Exile stuff. I have some of the DVDs, the soundtrack. I have a mouse pad, oddly, and like a little toy figure. Maybe those came with a box set or something. I don't remember. But, I did like the show. I thought it was good. But it's definitely one of those that I think would be harder to return to now than it was back when I watched it. And, it probably won't be remembered forever. They did make some sequels that nobody seemed to care about at all. So maybe that IP is better left to rest.